We can all agree that the Raptors are in a bit of a weird spot right now, but let's talk about the things that need to go right if this team does want to be successful in the upcoming year. What's up, everybody? It's JJ Buckets. That's what we're doing today. That's what we're talking about. So before I get into it, usual drill, as always, like the video. It takes a second, makes a huge difference. So thank you if you're doing that. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Plus, if you plan on doing any responsible sports betting in the near future, just make sure to check out my link in the description below. The first one might be a little bit obvious, but it still needs to be said. It's going to be how quickly can Darko Rajakovic implement his new system with the team and with the players, right? Like, yeah, sure, that comes off a little bit obvious, but let's say it how it is. A coaching change is a huge deal, and it takes a little while to adapt, right? Like, it takes a little bit of time for all the players to get comfortable in their new roles, get comfortable in the new system with how it's going to be run, how it's going to be going. So naturally, this is going to be one of the biggest factors for the Raptors and whether or not they're going to be successful this season, right? Rajakovic is going to come in. He's got a little bit more of the motion offense, and we're going to be emphasizing ball movement a lot more with this group of Toronto Raptors. So it'll be pivotal, in particular on the offensive end, to see how quickly this team can adapt to the new style of play that they're going to be doing, right? Because if it takes a little while for implementation, naturally your team's not going to compete out of the gates very strong, and you're going to obviously dig yourselves the hole early that you're going to have to dig out of. And, you know, at that point, are you going to be able to dig out of it, and are you going to be able to put yourself in a position to be successful afterwards? But yes, naturally, like Rajakovic coming in, and obviously he's going to get the training camp with the guys and all that stuff, but there's still going to be a learning curve when it comes to the regular season and when it comes to whatever the set amount of games is for everybody to truly get comfortable and to truly get ready to play how they're going to play in this new system. Especially, obviously, they're going to have to figure things out as well without having Fred VanVleet. So like the new roles, the new system, all that stuff, like there's going to be an adjustment period there. Depending on how quick it is going to be obviously huge when it comes to the Raptors and how competitive they're going to be out of the gate and just overall this season. To build off the last point, let's talk about the players that are going to need to step up and are going to need to be big factors for the Raptors this season. And in particular, they're ones that I've already talked about a little bit on this channel. It's going to be Scottie Barnes and it's going to be OG Anunoby. They are both going to be huge when it comes to this upcoming season and how the Raptors perform and whether or not the Raptors are a good team, because their success is very much so tied to the overall team success this upcoming season. And naturally, I'm going to talk about why, right? So in particular with Scottie Barnes, I'd be lying if I said I didn't think Darko was hired specifically because the offense that he's trying to run and some of the schemes and some of the ideals that he's trying to implement offensively complement Scottie Barnes' game, right? Like the fast, free-flowing nature of his offense and the quick decision-making to look for the best shot. I think you look at Scottie Barnes' skill set, and I imagine, obviously, like I have no substantial proof of this, but I really do imagine that the people hiring, so like Masai and such, sat there, looked at what Darko was trying to do offensively, looked at Scottie Barnes, who's obviously a big part of the future for the Raptors, the skill set that he has, and they just thought, yeah, this is a very good pairing. And with that in mind, naturally, I think Scottie Barnes is going to get featured a lot this season in terms of he's going to be making a lot of the decisions. He's going to be, you know, a big part of the offense and a big offensive engine for the team. And with that being said, whether or not Scottie Barnes comes into the season and looks damn good is naturally going to be a big factor for Toronto in terms of whether or not they are competitive, whether or not they are a talented team that is going to be high up in the standings. Like, his excellent play, should we get it, is going to be huge when it comes to, you know, Toronto winning and losing games. On the flip side of it too, I really do think OG Anunoby is going to be a pivotal factor here as well. Like, these are the two guys that I've talked about it as a kind of like buzz phrase in previous videos, but swing factors. Swing factors on this season and for a team that quite frankly could go in either direction of either being really solid and potentially a playoff team or, you know, bottoming out and being well in the lottery. I think these two guys in particular are the biggest swing factors on which result you're going to get with the Toronto Raptors. And when it comes to OG Anunoby, obviously we've heard the talk, you know, this past season that he wants the expanded role. He wanted more opportunities to shine within the offense. And he's going to get it, right? With Fred VanVleet gone, there's going to be in particular, I think, a big scoring void and a big scoring hole that is going to be, sought to be filled by somebody. And I think the very natural candidate for who fills that scoring void is going to be OG Anunoby. Now, look, we can talk about the handle as much as we want. I feel like that one's been kind of... it's a dead horse that's been beat, although when I get to my third point in this video, like, we're still beating some dead horses. Nonetheless, it will be interesting to see how OG Anunoby looks as the second scoring option, because I think for the most part that is going to be his role as it currently stands on this team. He is going to be the second scoring option. So obviously I'm using scoring option specifically because I do think overall in terms of touches, the second option is probably Scotty Barnes. But in terms of, actually putting the ball into the basket, I think OG is your second scorer behind Pascal Siakam. And how effective he's going to be in that role will naturally be a huge part to the success or downfall of the Toronto Raptors. So I think those are both between Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby. I think those are two of your biggest factors kind of lumped in together into one here as to whether or not the Raptors are going to perform this upcoming season. I joked in the last section that we were going to beat a dead horse a little bit here with the last point, and we absolutely are. Three-point shooting, spacing, please. My God, please get some semblance of it this season. And to Toronto's credit, obviously, I do think they made moves to address that. In particular, obviously, getting Grady Dick in the draft, who was arguably the best shooter, and trying to implement him into your team, find him a good role. Like, I think that was a key step in this direction, but you're still going to need individuals to step up as well. Toronto last season, and I highlighted this a decent bit throughout the season, and I will highlight it again here because it really does matter. Again, shocker. Modern basketball requires good three-point shooting. Shocker, I know. But it really does, right? And like, this team is gonna fight an uphill battle to be successful if they are not shooting the ball well. In particular, I think to some extent you're really gonna want to see progress as, perimeter shooters from Pascal Siakam and from Scotty Barnes, who are going to be two of your feature players on your team, right? Like, if those guys aren't shooting the ball well, your offense is going to be handicapped to some extent, right? Because Jakob Poeltl, obviously we know he's kind of a non-factor from the perimeter, and fair. And you're going to need him out there, obviously, as your starting center, so you're kind of stuck. I was gonna say stuck with that. It sounds more demeaning than it's actually meant to, but like, yes, that's something you're gonna have to figure out in your offense. But Pascal and Scotty both have potential to improve that shooting skill set, and quite frankly, again, they're gonna need to improve that shooting skill set. Otherwise, you're still gonna be dealing with poor spacing, drives to the basket are gonna be more clogged up, the mid-range game is going to be more clogged up. Like, again, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle. And on a team like the Raptors, where you have guys like Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes, and OG Anunoby, who could all do damage, in that mid-range or near the basket, you're going to want good spacing. You're going to want guys that can stretch the court for you so they can go and do that damage. And then, if defenses start closing in on that, you're going to want to have the flexibility to kick it out to a shooter on the perimeter who can knock down that shot. So I think getting improvements, in particular from Pascal and Scotty, in regards to their perimeter shooting is going to be huge. Obviously, again, you have some new pieces here that could potentially lift the three-point shooting. But yes, it's such a big factor. I've talked about it before. I will keep beating that dead horse if it needs to be beat. But yes, three-point shooting is absolutely going to be a big swing factor on how Toronto performs this season. So that does it for me. What do you folks think? Obviously, this is one of those topics where there's a lot of answers. Those in particular to me are the three biggest answers, questions, topics, whatever you want to call it. But if you feel like I'm overlooking something big, naturally, you know what to do. Drop it in the comment section, right? Like that's literally what it's there for. Other than that, usual drill at the end of these videos. I know I say it all the time, I say it at the beginning and at the end of the video, but it really does matter that much that I do keep saying it. Like the video, it helps me out so much. The algorithm really truly does like likes. So smash that button, do me a solid. Really appreciate it. Other than that, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And yeah, it's been JJ Buckets. It's been a pleasure, and I will see everybody next time.